tonight. The last weekend before kids go back to the classroom or online. The government's new centralized virtual learning system will be put to the test. Also,
we might have thrown out 25 to 50 pounds a week or something like that when it all added up.
fighting food waste, how apps are helping local retailers keep waste out of the landfill and save customers money. Plus, the Saskatchewan Roughriders get ready to host the Bombers in the 58th annual Labor Day Classic.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, September 1st, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for joining us. It's just a few more sleeps until school starts on Tuesday in Saskatchewan. And while most students will head back to the classroom, some will learn online. The province is launching a centralized system that has attracted some criticism. Pratush Dayal reports.
So currently right now you're registered in the...
These teachers are talking to parents whose children will be starting online classes on Tuesday. They work at Saskatchewan Distance Learning Centre in Kenniston. It's part of the province's new virtual learning program.
We're operating in, like you said, 10 different centres around the province, literally from every corner. And that's where I just wanted
CEO Darren Gasper says 150 teachers will work in 10 centres. Students can visit the campuses for tutoring or exams, but will mostly learn online. Last year, there were 33 different online school systems serving kids. Now, it's a centralized public system offering free classes to students no matter where they live in the province. Nearly 5,000 students have enrolled at the Saskatchewan Distance Learning Centre, but about only 1,400 of them are full-time. Their CEO says the number of full-time students has declined, but the pandemic concerns have eased. The launch of a new Crown corporation has been controversial. NDP's education critique says he's seen concerns from parents around infrastructural challenges and lack of communication.
From the get-go that this government has not developed a plan and a timeline that those in the sector think will work. And so many have predicted that there'll be problems, and here we are a few days from the start of the school year and we're seeing signs of challenges.
The teachers' union also criticizes the rollout.
We predicted it. It does not put teachers in a good position. It doesn't put families in a good position. It doesn't support what's best for kids.
So we love hearing.
Gasper says 3 centres are still finalizing their setup and that the supply chain issues caused delay. He says they will be ready for Tuesday.
On Tuesday when classes start, all of our teachers will be reaching out to their students to kick off the school year as well. So a few layers of communication that go in there. If any parents out there happen to not have heard anything yet or weren't able to find it in their email, we encourage them, please phone us. We have an active help desk and a phone center that they can call in anytime they need support.
Gasper says he expects a smooth start to the school year. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Kenniston.
As students head back on Tuesday, the Saskatchewan government will be heading to court over one of its new education policies. The University of Regina Pride Centre in Egal, Canada, have filed a lawsuit against the provincial government. The groups are upset the teachers must get a parent's permission to change a student's name or pronouns for children under 16. Lawyers from both sides will go before a judge on Tuesday morning for a case conference.
I hope that the students of Saskatchewan know, and young queer and trans people in Saskatchewan know, that the rhetoric they're hearing at the political level doesn't reflect the views of most Canadians, and that help is on the way. We think that this is a violation of their rights, and we're going to be fighting for that in court. More specifically, we're challenging the constitutionality of the policy. That can take several months to do. So what we're asking the court to do is order an injunction so that while the court has the chance to adjudicate the legality of the policy won't be in operation.
Jensen says after the meeting on Tuesday, a date will be set for when a judge will rule on the injunction. The provincial government maintains its position that the policy is meant to better involve parents in a child's development. A staggering amount of the food we buy in this country each year is wasted. And a lot of that food, which is still good enough to eat, comes from grocery stores and restaurants. Now, an international food waste app has launched in our province to help local retailers keep waste down and help you save cash. Ethan Williams tells us more.
Tim Schultz can't always sell all the food in his store, even if it's still good enough to eat. The owner of Local Market in Regina, Schultz tries to reuse his food as much as possible, but some still ends up in the garbage.
We might have thrown out 25 to 50 pounds a week or something like that when it all added up.
Now, Schultz has another way to keep that food out of the trash. His market is one of several Saskatchewan businesses using Too Good To Go, a food waste reduction app that just launched here in the last month. It allows retailers to put usable surplus food together in packages that can be sold to customers at a reduced price. It's just another tool to cut down on the impact of food waste, a big problem in Saskatchewan. A 2020 report showed the province produced the third highest amount of food waste per capita in Canada. And that has effects on our climate. Food waste produces methane, a potent greenhouse gas, when it's dumped in landfills. And estimates from 2020 show over a quarter of all methane emissions in Canada came from the waste industry. Food waste isn't just an environmental issue. Regina Food Bank CEO John Bailey says it impacts food security too. And food waste apps like Too Good To Go could be part of the solution.
If it means that folks that are struggling to make ends meet are able to purchase at a reduced price instead of visiting a food bank, we're all for it.
But Wanda Martin, an associate professor of nursing at the University of Saskatchewan, says although these apps are good for people looking for a deal, they don't necessarily help people who can't afford food at all.
The process is that you get a surprise bag. So if you're getting a surprise bag and you're putting money down for something, you don't know what it's going to be and how well you can consume that. That'll be a bit of a challenge for people that I am most concerned about, the people who are using charity food systems.
Back at Local Market, Tim Schultz is getting his next bag ready to sell. Although he doesn't make a lot of money through Too Good To Go sales, he says the products he's put on the app have sold quickly.
One of the people came to pick up and she said, these are harder to get than Taylor Swift tickets. So.
But when people are able to buy a bag, Schultz can feel good knowing he's making an impact on people and the planet. Ethan Williams, CBC News, Regina.
Reducing waste is the motivation behind Saskatoon's new pay-as-you-throw garbage program. City Council wants to move Black Cart garbage service from property taxes to a utility model, and residents may soon learn what it'll cost them. The plan's being presented to the city's Environment, Utilities and Corporate Services Committee on Tuesday. If it's approved, people will pick what size cart they want in January. Everyone will pay about $10 a month for the first 6 months, and you can swap your cart size without paying a penalty during that time. Then, in July, the savings kick in. The monthly fee for a small bin is about $4, the medium's about $7, and the large is about $10.50. The Director of Water and Waste Operations says the fees incentivize less trash.
By bringing in a cart size, you have a very physical, space-constrained way of showing people how much garbage you produce, and then it's scalable. So the model that we're using is related then to that size of container that you have. So if you can get away with a smaller container, then you pay less.
Lemke says this is also part of the city's effort to reduce the amount of waste produced. He estimates that 5 to 17% of waste could be diverted from the landfill. Natural health products will be a hot topic when Parliament resumes in a few weeks. That's because opposition parties want the Liberal government to scrap Health Canada's new regulations. They say the rules will increase costs for natural health products and hurt businesses. Olivia Stefanovic reports.
Supplements, which is, In Wajia Qureshi's natural health store, she worries everything from supplements to apple cider vinegar and green tea could be threatened by new Health Canada regulations.
The prices will go high, and many of the products people will be unable to buy.
The Conservative health critic says the changes are the #1 concern he's hearing from the public.
It's a financial issue, it's an issue about self-choice, it's an issue about freedom of choice.
Health Canada now has the ability to immediately recall any natural health product and force producers to update their labeling. But the most contentious change is still to come. Health Canada wants to charge producers the cost of monitoring and approvals, fees that range from hundreds to tens of thousands of dollars.
I'm a little bit worried that Health Canada is missing the mark.
Opposition parties plan to hold parliamentary hearings about the changes and summon Health Canada officials to testify.
And we should not hesitate to tell Health Canada to go back to the drawing board.
No one from the Liberal government was made available to speak to CBC News. The Health Minister's office deferred to Canada's chief medical advisor.
There's been a lot of misinformation, disinformation out there.
She says the changes ensure natural health products are not making false claims about what they treat or cure, and the cost will be much less than what Health Canada charges Big Pharma.
There is no intention by Health Canada to stop the sale of, restrict access of, or to ban any natural health products.
Health Canada is reviewing thousands of comments from public consultation before charging the $5 billion industry the cost of being regulated. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders are getting ready for a rumble in Regina. The annual Labor Day Classic against their rival Winnipeg Blue Bombers is this Sunday. Mosaic Stadium is officially sold out for the grudge match. The Riders last played the Bombers back in Week 2 and lost 45-27. Heading into Week 13, Winnipeg is arguably the best team in the CFL, but the Riders are hungry for a win to push their record over 500.
Yeah, it'd be really big. I think it gets us back in the conversation for hopefully a home playoff game, because that's the goal. And it would really give us a big boost of confidence. So we know it's a big one, and we can't worry about how many we've lost over the years. We got to win one game, and that's the goal.
He says that because Saskatchewan hasn't beat Winnipeg when it matters since October of 2019. That includes losing the last 2 Labor Day Classic games. But some of the hometown boys, they've played in the game before, and they say they know what's at stake.
We've got a bad taste in our mouth. We've lost the last 2 Labor Day Classics. So, yeah, we know there's a lot at stake. It's a big game for us. So, yeah, we've got to come out and play well and try to get a W on the board here.
You know what's going to happen. You know the atmosphere. You know what's going to happen in the game. You know it's going to be super loud. You're not going to be able to hear the snap count. You're going to be relay signals, everything. So I'm happy. I'm ready to go, man. I'm not even nervous, really. I'm just can't wait.
In advance of the game, the Green and White are also hosting a free Rider Fan Day tomorrow at the stadium. It runs 11 to 3. Use Gate 1 to get in. The Labor Day Classic kicks off at 5 o'clock on Sunday. Well, if it's been a busy week for you, here are some scenes of serenity out of Saskatoon today. It might be smoky out there, but there's still lots of beautiful water and green spaces that are not ready to flip over to fall just yet. This is the Boffins Public Gardens on the grounds of the U of S in Saskatoon. So what kind of long weekend weather are we looking at? Ethan will have your answer after the break. Stay with us. The somber anniversary of the mass stabbing at James Smith Cree Nation is approaching. Last September, hundreds of RCMP officers were dispatched to the First Nation, nearby Weldon, and other parts of the province in response to the killings and manhunt for Miles Sanderson. Today, the CBC's Adam Hunter sat down with the head of the Saskatchewan RCMP, Rhonda Blackmore, to discuss the events of last September and their lasting impact.
We're not participating in any events. James Smith has asked for some private time with families to reflect on the incidents of last year, and certainly want to be respectful of that. But in the last couple of weeks, we have been up at James Smith. We were there for the healing ceremony that FSIN had 2 weeks ago, and that was also a good opportunity to sort of reflect on the past year and what the community's gone through there.
When you go back to last year, what comes to mind when you think about what happened there?
From my perspective, how it was kind of all hands on deck here. Well, it really was. It was such a large-scale event. We had over 550 members involved in that incident. 181 of those came from other divisions, the rest of them from here within F Division. So absolutely massive event for us. So everybody was at work, everybody was doing their part to make sure that all avenues were covered off and all pieces were covered. So it was a very, very busy time for us. But when I think about the incident itself, your heart goes out to the victims, to the families, to the individuals who suffered through that trauma, and also to our members who responded to it. I wasn't up there initially the day of the stabbings, but the scene has been described to me as horrific, very chaotic initially, as more calls were coming in, more victims were being identified, staging areas for medical transport was identified, and people were transporting people to those areas. People concerned about the fact that the people, at that time we thought there was 2 responsible, hadn't been apprehended, so there were lots of nervousness about, are they going to come back? Could they potentially be a victim themselves? And so it was very chaotic for our members as well as they tried to respond to the stabbings. The trauma our members went through dealing with some of those crime scenes that were absolutely horrific. So, we want to make sure that we're supporting them as well. One of the things we've learned, sadly, over some pretty significant events here in Saskatchewan, the Humboldt bus crash and the Lolosh school shooting, is that when you have those major traumatic incidents, our members are impacted not just that day or a week or a month later. That's long-lasting impact. They don't forget the images. As much as we're trained police officers and we have a job to do, and those members did it, I believe, very well that day, and as they do every day, but it stays with them. They're human beings, and there's effects. So we want to make sure we're supporting those employees as well who were at the scene.
This weather update is brought to you by Titan Automotive, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. Technically, by weather standards, pumpkin, apple spice, all those things are allowed now.
Yes, that's right, and everything nice. It all comes together on the first day of meteorological fall, September 1st. Where did the summer go? Well, the summer does give us a chance to, or I guess the first day meteorological fall gives us a chance to look back on the summer. Let's start with a look at some August data given to us by Environment Canada today. And the one thing that really sticks out here is the moisture that we had in the month of August was non-existent really throughout much of the summer, but it certainly came in August in a lot of places, including Meadow Lake, getting over double what you normally get in an average August. Even places that were very, very dry throughout much of the summer, getting adequate moisture in the month of August. This is all of meteorological summer now, June, July, and August. And you can see that places like Moose Jaw, Saskatoon, very much below normal for moisture. But a place like Prince Albert or Meadow Lake, over what you normally get. And that is typically what we see in the province, kind of spots here and there that from storms or showers or whatever the case, we do seem to have the discrepancy between some getting too much and some getting not enough. Now, temperature-wise, I should note, we were kind of just about 0 to 1 degrees above the average when it came to summer temperatures from Environment Canada. But today, as you can see, as you've been seeing on this board, we are well above average for this time of year temperature-wise, sitting 30 degrees in portions of southern Saskatchewan, which should be kind of closer to 20. And of course, we are still dealing with that smoke through the province as well. Widespread air quality statements. That has been the result of this large plume of smoke that is almost traversing the province from north to south, coming in from the Northwest Territories. That begins to move out as we head through these next couple of days, but we'll likely still going to be seeing that haze and that smoke at times just because there has been so much of that. But we are even starting to see that clear out in spots right now. Now, that is kind of being fueled by these very strong westerly winds that we've been seeing at times, and those will continue to be strong in the north with a low pressure system passing by tomorrow. South and central likely going to be breezy the first couple of days of the long weekend before we start to see that back off. But in terms of our forecast for the long weekend, really, other than that, not much to speak of. Not a whole lot of activity on our systems map here outside of the wind. Maybe a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms in the north tomorrow that should be non-severe. A little bit of increasing cloudiness with this low moving in tomorrow to south and central. Monday is probably our next best chance of showers province-wide. And this hot air that we're seeing in the plain states of the U.S. begins moving eastward and southward as we head through the weekend. So temperatures will begin dropping off, as you'll see here in our extended forecast for Regina. So a hot couple of days to start the weekend and for the Rider game on Sunday as well before the holiday Monday comes along and we have kind of a nice comfortable start start to next week. Saskatoon, we're just a little bit kind of further north from where the crux of that warmth is. So Sunday, we should start to see temperatures come down. Holiday Monday, of course, will be a nice, comfortable day for you. And as the kids head back to school, Sam, looking pretty nice, kind of feeling a little like fall.
All right, that looks good. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Well, the Saskatoon Fire Department is reminding people that only low-hazard fireworks can be set off on private property between dusk and 11 o'clock on Monday night. Low hazard means travel less than 50 meters high. High-hazard fireworks are for pros only. Regina does not allow any private fireworks within the city limits on Labor Day. Neither does Prince Albert nor Swift Current. Moose Jaw, North Battleford require advanced special approval, as do other places, so be sure to check before you light up the sky. We'll be back after the break. The Canada Revenue Agency says it has fired more than 100 employees for taking advantage of CERB payments. The agency says it has zero tolerance for inappropriate claims. Marina von Stackelberg reports.
The very government agency responsible for managing pandemic benefits for Canadians has now had to fire 120 of its own employees for taking CERB money they didn't qualify for. The Canada Revenue Agency is still investigating hundreds more. The union says the cases are across the country.
Some cases are black and white. People knew about the system, knew the criteria, and they still applied. And it's very hard to defend them. In other cases, some people have, I guess, a better case, or there was a misunderstanding or a lack of comprehension of the program, even if they work at the CRA. In some instances, some employees had a second and a third job.
The employees who have been caught will have to pay back the money, and CRA isn't ruling out involving the police if there was criminal wrongdoing. In a statement, the country's Minister of Revenue writes, "The confidence and trust that Canadians put in the Canada Revenue Agency is a cornerstone of Canada's tax system. The disciplinary measures imposed show that for us, it is zero tolerance. These cases must not call into question the integrity and honesty of the more than 60,000 CRA employees who work in an exemplary fashion to serve their fellow citizens."
The CRA says some of its staff actually did qualify for CERB because they were on student contracts or temporary employees. Its investigation found about 30 people that fit that situation who will not be fired. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your long weekend weather.
And hot is going to be a theme, Sam. Already at 19 in Regina tomorrow morning. Maybe a bit hazy as we start the day, but we're expecting that smoke to move out for the afternoon anyway. Already at 30 degrees by the noon hour. Those west winds picking up a little bit. In Saskatoon, again, still staying smoky tomorrow morning. Mostly sunny skies. By the afternoon, likely hazy, but again, starting to see that smoke begin to move out. Should note for the Nutrien Fireworks Festival in Saskatoon, we're looking for good conditions tonight and tomorrow for that. And for the Rider game on Sunday, the Labor Day Classic, well, it's going to be a hot one. 29 at kickoff at 5 o'clock. But looking for partly cloudy conditions. Winds a little breezy from the south. We could see a little bit of increasing cloudiness as we head through the evening. And of course, Sam will be keeping an eye on the smoke there as well.
Always. That's the way the summer went. Thanks
Sure
for
is.
this, Ethan.
You bet.
And that is it for us this week. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask, subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Ethan and I will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Then we're back Tuesday. Thanks for watching and have a great long weekend.